Hi, this is Justin McCarthy from the PRMIA Standards Practice Working Group, and I'm here to talk today about how we are going to produce a prototype standard of practice on operational risk KRI. More importantly, how we're going to look to do this as much online as possible to allow us to scale this up to a truly global project. So the things we're going to talk about today are going to be review of the approach for the standards of practice, what the prototype is, why operational risk was selected, and specifically operational risk KRIs, what we need to produce, and the platform that allows us to do that. So just to remind everybody, we have the enabling materials. So basically this would be in a scenario where another subject matter expert group has been asked to produce, let's say, a credit risk standard of practice. So they'll have an example SOP, they'll have a template of what it should look like, they'll have a quality guide which will tell them what's expected in the way of font, writing style, and so on. And in turn, we're going to have the taxonomy, which we won't go into detail on, but is to look at controlling the layout of all the standards of practice and other items that are produced by PRMIA. So people such as the subject matter experts groups will use this to create the SOPs. There'll be a quality group, and then they'll be published. What we're talking about here is to develop the template and guide through operational risk KRI prototype, which we're talking about now, and then use this template and guide to scale up the work for other areas. So what we're talking about here is, at the moment, the prototype will be maybe 8-10 users around the world working together online to create a prototype. Ultimately, if this is going to scale up and end up having maybe 15-20 standards of practice for different risk areas, for model validation, for credit scoring, various things like that, then we need to do this online, because if it's a truly global initiative, it will be beyond any one person to control. So we'll need to make sure we're using technology and a good structure. But also, if it's global, it means that we get the best minds working on this. And also, because perhaps hundreds of people will have worked on the standards of practice, it'll get a real leg up in being adopted worldwide. So we need to look at how we can put all the items together to scale this. So the prototype. Well, it's going to allow us to have a common understanding of what a risk management standard of practice will look like. There is a lot of discussions. There's been a lot of people in the CRO summit in New York a few months ago. Thought it was a great idea. The FSA Risk Symposium was discussed there. It's a great idea, and Bob Mark has really sold this to a lot of people as a brilliant idea. But now we need to put something together that will allow people to hold and feel and see what a standard of practice is. So once this prototype is completed, we'll have created a standard of practice template, standard of practice quality guide. We'll start to improve and populate a PRMIA risk taxonomy. We've created a platform for scaling up the online collaboration, and we will also have established a quality group who will come back with feedback and so on. So it's not just a case of just writing a single document on, as we see in a moment, operational risk KRIs. We're going to make sure that at the same time we're building all this infrastructure to scale this entire project up as we go into 2014. And a two-stage prototype is suggested. We're going to take a single subcategory of a risk area and just create a prototype. That's the op risk key risk indicators. And then once we have done that, we'll select a larger risk area, and that allows us to test the template, the quality guide, and the online collaboration. And we probably would do this for all of the operational risk area. And this should set us up to be able then to scale this out into all the other areas such as credit risk, liquidity, and so on. So why have we picked operational risk? Well, if you look here on the right, this is the layout of work being done on operational risk for the tactical update of the PRM exam 3. And within that, it's been decided that there should be 3 sections: risk assessment, risk information, and risk value added. If we choose the risk information area, there's incident data, risk reporting, and key risk indicators. And it's been decided to work on this area here. Now, the reason that we've picked this overall is because we don't want to have a situation where the handbook for the exam has been updated in one direction with one layout, and at the same time the standards of practice being done in a different way. So the decision has been made to say, okay, let's stick close to the handbook for now. The item I mentioned about the taxonomy before, that will be an ongoing initiative to make sure that we have a way of controlling if there are changes between, let's say, the chart or the handbook and the standards of practice and so on. And also there's a lot of interesting things that could be done with risk taxonomies and so on and standards that I'm not going to go into today. So, key risk indicators. So, what needs to be produced as part of this prototype work? So obviously there'll be the operational risk KRI, standard of practice, but also there'll be an entire set of enabling content which will happen in the background. So there is already a standard of practice template in place, and that's another video we'll look at shortly. The quality guide will be put together, which will say exactly what should be written and so on. A risk taxonomy we've already talked about, which will be a way of recording or of controlling how we go about our various work for PRMIA and make sure that we keep things controlled. And then finally, a platform which will allow us to scale this up into a global project. So, the platform. Well, how do we scale? And what platform will allow us to edit content, have version control, project management, collaboration, roles, responsibilities, and community management? Really, how can we have some way that we can have hundreds of people working on these standards of practice at one time, to pull all that content together, make sure that quality is in place and so on. And for now, we're going to try Podio at www.podio.com. It's a freemium cloud-based collaboration tool acquired by Citrix in 2012, and it allows you to organize team communication, business processes, data and content and work management workspaces. So you can select business apps from an online app or build their own. What this means for you is that you'll be seeing an email coming out which will say you have been added to Podio, and you should be able to log in, and we'll then look at seeing ways that we can get people working together on this. It's free for 5 users or less, but let's not worry about that. So that's it. The next video is looking at the actual layout, the proposed layout for the standards practice. But for now, people should be able to say, okay, I know what the standard of practice is, I know what the prototype is trying to do, and they will hopefully be excited about being part of this global project. Thank you.